Probably no single American in history has accumulated more power without being elected than Dr. Tony Fauci. Most people never heard of him 4 months ago. Now he runs the country. How has he used that power? Well, often to promote wild speculation, some of it untrue, that is nevertheless taken as gospel by millions of fearful Americans. At one point, Fauci told us that coronavirus was so deadly we should never shake hands again. Oops. There goes one of the oldest traditions known to man. But Fauci also endorsed breaking lockdowns to have sex with strangers you meet online. Okay. This week, Dr. Fauci warned that coronavirus is so dangerous that the entire NFL season may have to be canceled. Dave Portnoy did not vote for Anthony Fauci. He did, however, found Barstool Sports, and we're happy to have him on tonight to assess the reign of President Fauci. So, Dave, do you think that our unelected monarch, Tony Fauci, is making the right decision by destroying America's most popular sport?
Well, the good news is I don't think he has any actual influence on it. And in a rare situation, the only man who thinks he was elected without being elected by the American people more than him, Roger Goodell, I think he'd infect his own family with corona before canceling the NFL season. So, you know, I don't, they're going to play the NFL. Why Fauci feels like he has the right to say they're not. He can certainly say, you know, it may be dangerous, but the way he phrased it, it was like he was the end-all, be-all on that. I would actually be very curious to see if he tried to, you know, actually install that regime versus the Roger Goodell regime, and, you know, all hell would break loose in that case.
So I didn't hear a single thing that you said after you complimented Roger Goodell, because I never thought I would live to hear that. Was it hard for those words to form on your tongue?
Well, it wasn't exactly a compliment. I did say he would infect his own family with corona if it meant, you know, they get to play the NFL season. So they're going to play the NFL. Roger Goodell does not care about safety or anything like that. This could be, you know, the greatest pandemic of all time. He's playing. Again, why Fauci thought he had the right to act like he was the decision maker, I have no idea.
What is this going to do to attendance at the games?
You know, I think we're seeing right now the American people clearly have COVID fatigue. Whether that's right or wrong, people are showing up in droves to casinos, to bars. If you let people go to the game, they're going to go. Where the American people, humans in general, are social creatures. So they'll show up. The only way they won't is if we physically are told we can't go, not allowed in. But if you let people go, they're willing to risk it. And by the way, I think that should be each individual's choice.
Of course. So we were hearing yesterday that it's possible stadiums will take the temperature or somehow test every person with a ticket trying to get in. What would that look like, do you think?
Those would probably be the longest lines in the history of lines. I mean, imagine getting in a bar when you have a slow bouncer with your ID. Imagine them actually taking every single person's test. I went to Michigan. It takes an hour and a half to get into that stadium anyways. So in practicality, it sounds all right if you can do it. How you can actually make this work? I mean, you're going to have to get to the game 9 hours early. You're going to have more problems with people congregating, waiting to get in, than actually being in.
So one of the effects of the COVID-19 lockdowns, the quarantines, is that people look very different from the way they did 4 months ago. A lot of people have gained weight. You haven't, obviously, but you have grown a very, very bushy beard. Are you going to keep it?
Well, Tucker, I haven't had a haircut in 3.5 months. The results are very mixed. I'm having some of the gentle nature, the females. Some say they like the curls, some don't. My barbershop has not opened yet, so I'm very in between. I may let the public decide. And when I say public, I only care about the female gender and let them tell me what they think about it.
Do you have any sense from your informal polling on the question what the reaction is?
I think it's about 60-40. They like Corona Dave. I got a brilliant tan. I look like I just got washed into shore, Tom Hanks style from Castaway. It's a tough boat right now. I'm not going to lie. It can go either way depending on who you talk to.
Dave Portnoy talking to his soccer ball. Great to see you tonight, Dave.